Um. Anyway, speaking of winning and not winning and losing, because everyone involved is a loser. Um. So again, there's so much to recap, right? But I am a former respecter and appreciator of one Benjamin Burgis. I used to enjoy his material many, many moons ago. And when I disagree with, there's a beeping in the background, just ignore that. When I disagree with someone that I otherwise would respect, I don't mind saying that publicly. I think that there's a huge problem in general in this society where people really don't like the idea of criticism. Like, I don't know. But I want to put a little bit of hypocrisy on this plate, too, that we're going to be feeding Mr. Benjamin Burgis. So Benjamin Burgis is doing this event. That's like, almost everyone involved is like a transphobic, like, Christian fundamentalist. And so, if Ben Burgis is going on here to do a good job and to change people's minds, I'm in favor. But I really want to stress that, and again, just please don't mind the beeping sound. I don't know. I'll deal with that later. So I lost my train of thought. Fuck. All right. Okay, so my point in criticizing Ben Burgis is that I don't think he does a good job at doing debates. He doesn't. He does a really, really bad job, actually, at doing debates. I mean, let's take a look at his Jesse Lee Peterson debate. Let's take a look at when he talked to Joe Rogan recently, right? I agree that if Ben Burgis goes on Joe Rogan's show and talks about Jacobin or whatever, is that a net positive for the left? Maybe. Right? But the idea that I'm not allowed to criticize him on things that he does wrong because he went on Joe Rogan's show to advertise Jacobin. And I have my own criticisms of Jacobin too, But I just want to be very clear. Like, and Ben, like, I don't know what this guy's deal is, right? Like, he goes on a fucking Christian Nazi transphobe panel, right? And says, it's just a debate. Okay, so I tweeted this out. I think Ben Burgis has officially entered the IDW arc. And he responds, it's a debate. If going into right-wing spaces to do debates is entering the IDW arc, I entered that arc long before I first came on your radar. I don't even know what that means. Like, it's just like a weird statement. It's like very strange. But again, he's fine to debate whether or not transgender people should be killed or not, because that's what he's going to be debating. But let's look at the last time he went on Joe Rogan's show and talked about trans issues. He agreed with Joe Rogan. He said that Joe Rogan was the expert on trans issues in the room. So, and again, my criticism of him and many other people's criticism of him, he's just shrugged off. He doesn't give a fuck about it. He doesn't care that people are hurt by his words. Trans people are hurt by his words and they feel betrayed. Again, if you're going on the show to talk about Jacobin, okay. And if you don't cover trans issues, maybe that's a net win. But when you cede the ground to Joe Rogan on trans issues and say that he knows more about trans issues than you do, that's a problem. And you know what? Ben Burgis could have spent the last 3 weeks or however long it's been thinking, oh my God, yeah, I did kind of fuck that up. How can I educate myself? Maybe I'll talk to more trans people. Maybe I'll learn about why they disagree with what I said. Maybe I'll educate myself so that I don't look that foolish and throw trans people under the bus. But he didn't do that. He went on a victory tour and said, look, I talked about Jacobin. The woke mob is trying to cancel me because they don't agree with everything I said. I don't understand why. Okay, when you go on a Christian Nazi panel, that's fine. It's a debate. But when someone criticizes your take on trans issues, it's woke scold. Oh, you're so woke and you're trying to cancel me. Bro, I mean, it's embarrassing. This is embarrassing. And this is the IDW arc that I mentioned. Is that anyone who criticizes him from the left is a woke scold. They're not serious. Don't they understand? He went on Joe Rogan to rep Jacobin. Don't they understand? If you are going to be entering right-wing spaces, I want you to be more... I'm not in these spaces. I'm not going on Joe Rogan's show. I'm not going on this Christian Nazi show. Right? So, I view Ben Burgis, at least viewed, right? It's getting harder to maintain this worldview over time. But I viewed Ben Burgis as a left-wing ally. So I figured, right? Oh, left-wing ally. Okay, I'm going to go out there and make sure that they know what they're talking about on an issue I know a lot about. I'm a trans person. I know a lot about being trans. I would have loved the opportunity to educate Ben Burgis on this. I have been the victim of Andy No's harassment. I know how his harassment works. He works with neo-Nazi organizations. I would love to educate him on how those things work. But instead, he views anyone that criticizes him as a woke scold, and he doesn't debate it. He's fine to debate whether or not trans people should be genocided or legislated out of existence. And he's fine to cede the ground on that issue because he just doesn't know much about it. That's a debate. Oh, it's a debate. Look, I rep Jacobin. But when people are hurt by his words, oh, they're woke scolds. They're trying to cancel me. Anyway, so someone responds, I'm debating, bro. Excuses anything and everything? Question mark. Ben Burgis responds, if anything and anything means committing genocide, then no, it doesn't. But if it means participating in debates in order to persuade people of left-wing positions, then it does excuse that. If you're a ridiculous enough person to think that needs to be excused. So again, in his mind, right, it's like it's a zero-sum game. Well, I rep Jacobin, and so what if I participated in transphobic conspiracy theories, right? I mean, let's be honest, right? Right-wingers hate trans people, so if I pretend to also not know anything about trans people and think they're icky and gross and shouldn't be allowed in sports, if I say that Joe Rogan's the expert, maybe they'll subscribe to Jacobin. Huh? I mean, if that's a strategy, I would rather him be honest about it. I would rather Ben Burgis be honest and say, yeah, I think the trans issues are a loser, and if I could convince people to subscribe to Jacobin, maybe they'll like trans people later. That's not my job. If he was just honest about that and said he didn't give a fuck, okay, at least I would respect that as a consistent ideological position, okay? But he's not doing that. He's pretending like... Anyway, so my response is, I think you surrender to right-wing opinions more than anything, because I don't like how you kind of threw trans people under the bus with Andy No's victims and shat all over us in your last debate and wish you'd take criticism better. Anyway, he responds, I'll leave it to anyone reading this to judge whether anything you've said looks like good faith critique and show myself out. What kind of response is this? Like, I mean, like, I really, like, anytime anyone criticizes him from the left, he has this, like, he talks down to you, like he's like your father, like criticizing you for like fucking like turning the TV on at like 9:30 or something when you're 4 years old. What is this attitude, bro? It's embarrassing. This attitude is embarrassing. If I went on a debate with a right-winger, which I've done, and people criticize the way I handled a specific subject, which has happened, you know what I do? I rethink it and think, maybe next time I'll study more into this subject so that I can be prepared for that. If Ben Burgis were to just say, yeah, I don't give a fuck about Antifa being killed by neo-Nazis. I don't give a fuck about trans people. I just don't. I'm sorry. I think that that's a political loser, like Ryan Grimm. Ryan Grimm at least is honest. He says, yeah, I don't really give a fuck about trans people. I think it's a loser politically, so I'm not going to talk about it. At least he's honest. Right? But Ben Burgis is like, again, he has this like, why doesn't he just respond to anyone like a normal person? Like, it's just so bizarre to me. Like, he's fine debating right-wingers on whether or not homeless people should be killed. That's fine. But debating a left-winger on whether or not trans people should be allowed in sports or something, can't do it. They're woke. They're too woke. They're too woke. It's ridiculous. I don't know, man. It's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous. And it's sad and it's embarrassing. That's just my opinion. And there's a lot of people that share my opinion. And Ben Burgis thinks that we're all like crazy SJW, woke mob, trans like activists or whatever. Because we asked him, hey, maybe talk to trans people before discussing trans issues. Did Ryan Grimm really say that? Ryan Grimm released a thread a couple of months ago talking about how like the polling on trans issues is really bad and Democrats should stop talking about trans people. So does Ryan Grimm personally hate trans people? No. But his opinion is we should just stop talking about it, which in my opinion is extremely offensive. But at least it's like there's a reason, right? At least there's a reason provided. Like, yeah, most Americans hate queer people and want them to be killed or removed from society. So maybe let's ignore that and talk about things that we can get them on. I understand the strategic position. If you're a cis person and you just don't give a fuck, you have no skin in the game, you don't care. Okay, I understand. Would I rather live if everyone around in the country hates trans people versus everyone around in the country hates trans people and I have free healthcare? You know, one's preferable. But at least, I mean, again, at least he's honest. Ben Burgis is like, I don't really know anything about trans issues. You seem like more educated on this to me. To Joe Rogan. But he's not going to actually talk to a trans person and see, like, from an actual expert. Someone that has to live being trans every day and seeing people that you used to respect just shit on you on a podcast like Joe Rogan's. Again, there's a lot of people in my position. Like, I don't want to be in this position, but I am in the position where I am representing a very large number of people that used to very much so respect Ben Burgis that no longer don't, or that no longer do, right? I know a lot of people. Again, Ben Burgis got his big break from TMBS. That's how I heard of him. That's how many other people that watch my show heard of him, right? And a lot of people that used to watch TMBS a long time ago when Ben Burgis came on the scene are very disappointed with him right now. And if Ben Burgis thinks, okay, well, fuck that demographic, I'm going for a new pond to swim in, okay. I wish he'd be honest about that. I wish he'd be honest about it. That's my thing. I feel like his tone, the way he's handling this whole situation is embarrassing. I think it's cringy. I think he has like an attitude that he's better than everyone else. And one of the, it's just sad. It's sad. It's sad. I mean, it really is. It's sad. And so again, I criticize people in media. I criticize people in left-wing media all the time. I'm capable of criticizing people and maintaining respect for them in some abstract capacity. I don't have to agree with everyone on everything. But man, I mean, like, fuck, it's really hard to come out here. Like, when someone says Ben Burgis is transphobic, it's really hard for me to defend him on that. Because he has, like, every time he's ever mentioned trans people, it's like, yeah, blasé support. But every time he's challenged on it, he's like, oh, I don't know, maybe trans people shouldn't be in sports. Oh, I don't know, whatever. Maybe I don't know. I wouldn't want bad things. I don't like bad things. So, so do I think he hates trans people on a personal level? No. But do I think he's transphobic on an abstract level? I think so, yeah. So, and I think most cis people, while they can be allies in some ways, can also have transphobic beliefs. I think trans people can have transphobic beliefs because I think society is transphobic. I think society is racist. I think society is homophobic. Society has a bias toward Christianity and against things like other religions or atheism, right? So I think, I'm just saying, I'm rambling here, but it's disappointing. And Ben Burgis thinks that, a lot of people that used to watch him are just expendable. And if that's your move, okay. If that's the move, if that's the thing that he's going in, that's the direction that he's going, okay. But I'm still going to comment on it. So in the same way that I comment on people like Kyle Kalinske, that I have a respect for, but also I disagree with him a lot on a lot of things. I'll criticize him when I see him say stupid stuff. In the same way that I'll criticize people like Jimmy Dore, who claim the mantle of leftism. If Ben Burgis is going to go on programs to represent the left's positions, then he needs critics from the left to keep him in check. And if he wants to ignore us and pretend we don't exist, or pretend we're all like SJW, woke mob, cancel culture, trans rights activists that are trying to cancel him because we're woke or something, if that's what he wants to write off all the criticism as, okay. But that doesn't mean that the role of criticism, that doesn't mean that I should, like, oh, well, he doesn't listen to me, so I shouldn't criticize him. Because he's a public figure. And if someone watches Ben Burgis on the Joe Rogan show and wants to look Ben Burgis up, and if my videos come up, and then they can learn more about what Ben Burgis gets wrong, that's a good thing, in my opinion. And so that's my motivation. But anyway, Ben Burgis, not, again, he does not handle debates well. And I think this is good evidence.
And say, oh, I'm not a beta male. I'm not a beta male. You're a beta male.
Beta. That's one of the last times he went on to debate a right winger. So I'm just saying, I don't know. Has he gotten better than that? Maybe. But also, he went on Joe Rogan's show the other day and kind of threw trans people under the bus and kind of said Andy No was a journalist who, Antifa are the real fascists. So I don't know, man. Doesn't really handle debates well. I'm just saying. And I don't handle debates that well either. I debated Jackson Hinkle a couple months ago. A lot of people said that I let him talk too much. Maybe. That's possible. Maybe I did let him talk too much. Maybe. Personally, I think that my debate preference is to let people kind of like spell themselves out on their positions. I like to be very clear with people's positions, right? So that I can criticize them. So I let people like give their whole spiel and then I'll tell them why it's wrong. But I understand as a debate style, it might seem like I'm on, I'm not, I don't know. I'm not a professional debater by any means. But I take criticism like that and I put that into the next time I have a debate with someone or a conversation with someone about things that, that we disagree on or whatever. I think people in general should constantly be striving for improvement. I think the idea that improvement should be shunned is bad. You can't criticize people because they're on the left. Oh, I'm going to debate, so you can't criticize me. What? Not allowed? I just can't. Oh, you're a lefty, so I can't criticize you now. Well, thanks for telling me that's the role. If you're a left winger, you're immune to criticism. If anyone criticizes me, they're cancel culture, woke mob. They're bad faith, attacking me, attacking my character. They're all bad faith. There's no such thing as good faith criticism from the left of Ben Burgis. It doesn't exist. I mean, look at his fucking like bullshit like crybaby. I'll leave it to anyone reading this to judge whether anything you've said looks like good faith critique. You can't criticize him from the left. It's just by default. It has to be cancel culture. It has to be you're woke and you're trying to scold him because he's not woke enough. It is impossible for anyone to levy any criticism against Ben Burgis that he could possibly ever respect. He's perfect. He's beyond any critique. He's a hero of the movement, and he's a modern-day thought leader. It's just, man, what the fuck? It's embarrassing. This guy's ego has gotten too intense, and again, my role here is to criticize him so that he does better. I want him to do better. If he chooses not to do better and chooses to continue to cater to right-wing audiences and continues to like throw minorities under the bus for political convenience, then he has to understand that that is a move that begets criticism. That is a strategy position that will be criticized. And he can say, oh, if I throw trans people under the bus or don't talk about it, then maybe I'll get more people to bring them slowly into. And that's an argument I'm willing to entertain. I understand the strategy of it on like a fucking strategical sense. I get the strategy. But also, you know, I just don't agree. But at least, like, there's a clear cut, this is my strategy being laid out. Ben Burgis is like, he's so afraid to just be honest with what he's doing. And it's sad. Very, very, very sad. Very sad. So this is what I responded with, by the way. I responded to this with this.
There was no response. They didn't have one for that. No, it's very sad. Very sad.
Do you think
I love that. Because he didn't reply. He didn't say, oh, I see what you're saying about this, and here's why I disagree. He just said, I don't really care. You're a woke mob, woke scold. And also, can we talk about why does Ben Burgis still follow me? Like, I don't know, man. Like, this is like, there's like a weird dynamic going on. And I'm going to be honest. I'm uncomfortable. Like, I'm just being honest with you. Like, why does Ben Burgis follow me? Yet he thinks that I'm like some crazy woke mob cancel culture, but he follows me. But like, he doesn't take anything I say seriously, and he responds to me to say that he doesn't take it. This is a very uncomfortable scenario that I've managed to find myself in. And, I'm going to stay here for as long as I can, I guess, but there you go.